We know sports can elicit a lot of range of emotions, right? You root for your team, you get passionate about it. Where does sympathy for another team kind of fit into all of that? Because I was watching Monday Night Football last night. We all saw the break. We all saw what happened to Aaron Rodgers. Somehow the Jets won that game. What did I tell you about the Bills? I told you the Bills were fake. I told you they were fugazi, but here they are anyway. You watch them go down, and there's a little part of me that instantly goes back to the team that I root for, that is the Cleveland Browns. As bad as it sounds, what happened last night was good news for them. We'll talk about all of it right here on Big Play. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Matt Fontana. Hey, is producer Ryan this morning right here on Big Play. Appreciate everybody joining us. YouTube, we're on Twitter. We're streaming live on the iHeart app. If you need any of those links, go to @MattFontana83. or follow us at Matt Fontana Show, which is just the video stream, but the iHeart app, good response to all that. Got that all ironed out, so we appreciate everybody joining us this morning. Tristan Thompson is back. Nobody cares about the Guardians. They lost anyway last night. Overhit, though, so I was all for that on Tipico. Needed to win back some last night on that Jets debacle. They're bad. They're not good, and they couldn't beat Zach Wilson. The reason Zach Wilson was in the game, if you're just waking up this morning, Aaron Rodgers has reportedly suffered an Achilles tendon tear, which that's what it looked like on the field last night. It started all this debate about turf and grass and all that kind of stuff. But Ryan, I fully admit that I'm a jerk for feeling this way. Jets are fried. They're cooked.
It
They're
does
done.
not look good.
They're
and you know
done.
what? I feel so bad for New York. Especially watching Hard Knocks, man. You know, we got a little bit attached.
Think about that, yeah.
It was not a good day for New York.
Well, it's bad for New York. It's bad for the NFL. It's everything. I get it. And I sit here, and I always do this with national stories or when big things happen. Like, I tie it back to the teams that I care about. What is happening? What is the impact here on Cleveland? The impact, for as mean as this might sound, that is a playoff contender that will now no longer be a playoff contender. And if you want to say, okay, they came back and beat the Bills, I tried telling you about the Bills. And maybe you want to add the Bills to that list now. Do you want to add the Bills? It's one game. Not trying to put the cart before the horse here. But the Bills, I still think will maybe contend and miss the playoffs. The Jets are done. The Jets are done. And as bad as I feel for their fans to a point, yes, they're a little similar to us. They've had more success than us recently, sure. As mean as it might be, I see the Browns as a team that should contend for the playoffs. Like, go figure, as soon as we get good and the rest of the AFC is stacked. Now it's not so stacked. You took a team that was going to be, I don't want to say a lock for the playoffs, but a lot of people had them competing, maybe even winning that division and taking a seat away in the AFC. That's not happening. Like, I feel pretty confident sitting here today, as most people would, if they don't have Aaron Rodgers, they're not making the playoffs. Now, they could have some miraculous turnaround with Robert Saleh and try to, I don't know what Zach Wilson is or isn't. He's probably not very good. But I'm sorry. And if I'm wrong for feeling that way, I get it. I fully admit that is a real kind of jerk way to look at things. Like, here's Aaron Rodgers for all the money that he makes and for everything. He's out. And that is good for my football team. That is good for the Cleveland Browns of what happened last night. It's the dark side of sports that we don't want to talk about. They're supposed to be, hey, root for everybody and it's all good. I would admit, Ryan, that I feel bad for a second doing that. I feel bad rooting for injury. And I didn't watch that game. Nobody watches a game going on, man, I really hope this guy gets hurt. It's what happened. And the fallout is now that there's one less team to take up a playoff spot in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, nobody wants to see injuries, and especially against such a renowned player like Aaron Rodgers, who I know they said this on the broadcast last night, really seemed rejuvenated and be back in football in a city that, you know, he's excited to play in. And it sucks. Nobody wants to see it. But at the same time, you know what? If Deshaun was to, God forbid, go down with an injury, you know, people from the outside would be looking at it like, hey, man, that Brown team looked good. One less competition.
And you go to our friends at Tipico, Big Play 150, use the code, get signed up. Thank God it was free bets that I had last night on the Bills. Tipico, the odds have shifted. The Browns are now favored to make the playoffs. They are favored to get, and not favored, they're right there with Baltimore and Cincinnati to win the division. It was one game, but you just see this monumental shift of what the Browns did. Beating the Bengals was nice, and then you start seeing all this other stuff kind of file and rank of, okay, now the Jets are going to be without Aaron Rodgers. They're probably out. And, I battle it because it was just one game, right? That is something. You want to overreact to the Bills? Okay, fine. You want to overreact to what Miami looked like because obviously they were going to contend. They looked very good. You want to overreact to what the Bengals looked like against the Browns. Sure, fine. I understand that. This is different because Aaron Rodgers going down, and I haven't seen the official news, but dude, did you see the video? Are you squeamish?
That I am so actually.
A little bit.
So the thing is, those injuries, I've kind of become, because nowadays on Twitter you can see everything instantly. I'm a little bit numb to those, but blood is what kind of gets me.
So there's a video, and search in your own, free will, I guess. And dude, you see it. Dude, just
his calf. They said it reverberated.
Yeah, good word. Reverberated. And you see it. I'm not an orthopedic surgeon. Shocker, right? Stop, everybody. I'm not an orthopedic surgeon. I could tell you that something really, really bad happened in his leg. Like, that's it. So they haven't announced it, but everybody says that they fear he tore his Achilles, which, again, it sucks. And there's that element of the NFL is probably sitting there today going, damn, that was a team that the NFL will always want a New York team to be good. They want everybody to be good, but they need a New York team to be good. Here's the thing. They want the Browns to be good because they know that is a big fan base. So the NFL, frankly, watching the Giants get demolished, that was a bad 24 hours for the New York City. Sunday night, watching the Giants just get demolished, and then the next day, you watch Aaron Rodgers go down. The NFL's losing money now. That's all right. No matter how you want to cut that cake, that's bad for the NFL too. But I sit there today and I look at it through the Browns lens, which I always will, and say there's now one less team that is going to be contending for the playoffs. That's a spot that the Browns could get in. Do I feel bad about that? Yeah, to a point. Also, I don't really care. All of the things that we have all had to put up with as Browns fans and sports, and you would like to believe that there is some sort of sports karma, that we paid this for so long, dealing with injuries, dealing with ineptness, dealing with we should have a Super Bowl right now. If there was truly a sports god, if there was truly a football god that said, you know what, I'm going to eventually throw you a bone, we would have had it by now, but we don't, right? So that's the cruel nature of sports.
How about this, Matt? Think about it like this. I'm pretty sure the Jets have 4 or 5 more primetime games. The NFL's probably scrambling thinking about watching Zach Wilson.
And we've gotten that tweet too because there are people that think the Browns might get flexed. Like there's one game that the Browns Ravens, there's a Sunday that the Jets are on primetime. That might get flexed. The Browns are going to play the Jets on Thursday Night Football, second to last week. Now that Thursday Night Football getting flexed is a little weird anyway. But yeah, I mean, the NFL is in a lot of trouble when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. And that's the same. Like the Browns have gone through things like this, not necessarily of you paid all this money for a franchise quarterback and you got 2 plays out of him and he's down and he's out and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to apologize for feeling how I feel. I do. It sucks that Aaron Rodgers got hurt. I do feel bad for a point, but I also see the opportunity that it is for the Cleveland Browns. And that is something that when I look at it, there is now one less contending team for them to make the playoffs. Good. I didn't want it to come at the expense of Aaron Rodgers, but that's football. And I've had to pay enough of the dues as a Browns fan going through all the crap that we've gone through happen to somebody else. Now, again, I feel bad it's kind of the Jets because, like, nobody, and trust me, I'm not wishing this, nobody would cry if that was Patrick Mahomes because they go, it's the Chiefs. They've got a couple of Super Bowls. They've been on this dynasty. Let somebody else come on up. Kind of sucks that it's the Jets. But just from a strict fan standpoint of the Cleveland Browns, it's one less contending team. So it's a 2 for Tuesday. Some people already know about this. If you're brand new to the show, first off, welcome. We appreciate you joining us this morning. 2 questions, 2 answers. It's always how we do it on Tuesday. So we'll do this on Twitter, at Matt Fontana Show. Drop a follow there, at Matt Fontana Show. 2 questions, 2 answers. The first one. And we're going to, Ryan, I like how you put this up. We're going to put 2 options here. As a Browns fan, how do you feel about the Aaron Rodgers injury? A, I feel bad for them, or B, that's one less playoff contender. Put it that way. And I want to see where people come out because obviously I'm answer B. And we'll answer these questions. We'll get more in depth in them coming up here on the show. But obviously I'm going B on this, where I look at it from a strict, this is a Hard Knocks game, to use a bad pun because they were on Hard Knocks. That's life, man. Sorry, he's hurt, and they're going to be bad. Yeah, okay, they beat the Bills. I guess they could come on some big resurgence. I don't really see that happening. But that is one team that I thought was going to contend. That isn't. That's now a spot for the Cleveland Browns to make it. Now, the easiest thing, and I already got this in the Twitter inbox. Just go win the division. That doesn't matter. I'd love to. Please. God, and I called that. I do think the Browns might win the division this year. Yeah, that has no bearing on the Jets, right? Well, I'm only talking about if they contend for a wild card, but it's just that there are 7 teams, because they only have one bye. Right? 7 teams make the playoffs. Yeah, your 4 division winners and 3 wild cards.
3 wild cards, yep.
Thank you. Thanks, Ryan. That's why we keep you around. 7 teams make it. And we ran through that list, right? Or if you run through that list of the Chiefs, the Dolphins, the Ravens, the Bengals, the Browns, Jacksonville, because somebody's going to win that division, the Chiefs, the Chargers, Raiders, Broncos, Jets, Patriots. That's 12 teams for 7 spots. Scratch the Jets out. You might laugh about Denver. I probably am too. Okay, scratch. The less that you can do. Now, granted, again, the Browns need to be in position to capitalize on this, and they need to take care of their own business. But right now, the Jets are out. So that's our first 2 for Tuesday up at Matt Fontana Show. Again, as a Browns fan, how do you feel about the Aaron Rodgers injury? A, you feel bad for him, you feel bad for the Jets, or B, well, it's one less playoff contending team. So we'll get that up on Twitter. But as always, we do 2 questions, 2 answers. The second one, I don't know why, right? I guess it is football season. Varsity Blues has been on like 10 times last week. I watched it 3 times. I sat down and I asked myself the question, oh man, I forgot about Remember the Titans. Because I almost wanted to say, what's the best high school football movie of Varsity Blues versus Friday Night Lights, but then you can't disrespect Remember the Titans that way. And we do brackets. People ask me, we didn't debut the bracket this week, but we'll get that rolling here coming up on the show as well. So now my 2 for Tuesday is thrown out because I really want to do 3. Put 3 up. I don't care. Who cares? 3. Best high school football movie. Remember the Titans, Friday Night Lights, Varsity Blues. Post that at Matt Fontana Show. We'll get into that debate coming up. We got to talk about Jack Conklin. It's official. Torn ACL. He's out for the year. The Cavs are welcoming Tristan Thompson back. We're going to get that coming up at 9:30 because Thompson, an important figure in Cavs history. Maybe not the most important, but there is something he can do here to change things up. So we'll get to that coming up at 9:30. We got overreaction from Dan Graziano this morning on ESPN. That is actually related to the Browns because the question was, could they win the division? I just said I thought they would. And Graziano, does he agree with me or not? But when we return, I love Dorian Thompson-Robinson. So do you. What if the Jets came a-calling and they said, we need a quarterback all of a sudden? What would it take, potentially, to give up on DTR? We'll talk about that and a list of the potential replacements for Aaron Rodgers up there in New York. One of them, a former Cleveland Brown. Another could have been a former Cleveland Brown. We'll explain all of it. Stay with us this morning right here on Big Play, iHeart app. Check us out on YouTube and streaming, of course, on social media as well. It's the Matt Fontana Show live this morning here on Big Play. It is a business. It is a business. And Andrew Berry would not be doing his job if he didn't pick up the phone for everybody that came a-calling. You had a guy who looked pretty good in preseason. We all love Dorian Thompson-Robinson, but if the Jets came calling, would you pick up the phone? We'll discuss that right here. Matt Fontana Show here on Big Play. Welcome back. Twitter inbox on fire this morning. Well done, folks. We're at Matt Fontana Show. I'm at Matt Fontana 83. Ryan, what's your Twitter handle? I follow you. I retweeted you a few times, but
yeah, it'll be on the screen with the producer shot. It's at Ryan Tyler 33.
Perfect. Drop a follow all across all of our platforms this morning on YouTube and as well on the iHeart app. So our 2 for Tuesdays are up. First one talking about the Aaron Rodgers injury. So he goes down with sounds like an Achilles injury. He'll miss the year. How do you feel about it as a Browns fan? Are you, man, that sucks for the Jets? Or option B, that's one less playoff contending team in the AFC. Good for the Browns. And that's how it plays out. I'm pretty staunch on the second one. Yeah, there's a part of me that feels bad. It sucks, but I'm a Browns fan, and there's one less team that's now going to compete for the Browns for a wild card spot. That is a good morning. I'm going option B. Ryan, please cast your vote.
All right, yeah. So I'm gonna go option B as well.
It's the right answer. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Injuries are just horrible, and they're an unfortunate part. It's a dangerous game. But as a diehard Cleveland Browns fan, right, I'm gonna look at it as, hey, silver lining. Feel horrible for Aaron Rodgers, but at the end of the day, you can't deny that it does boost the Browns' chances just a little bit.
It does. I mean, it boosts it. Again, I sit here and we do a lot of betting here on the show and with our friends at Tipico. You see the playoff odds and FPI and ESPN power rankings and all that kind of stuff. That's great. You want to know? Go look at the books. Go look at the sports books. And the sports books have shifted to the Browns being now favored to make the playoffs, which I think a nice win over the Steelers on Monday. Yes, a nice win over the Bengals and soon to be Steelers. That helps. You already have a 1-game lead in the division, which I get. But those lines moved this morning because of the Aaron Rodgers injury. They did. I know they did. And yeah, they won that game, but it doesn't matter. And if you want to even pile on top of the fact that the Bills looked like crap. Bengals did too, but the Bills looked like utter crap. Like, pile that all in. And the Browns come out of week 1 feeling pretty good, as they should. So we both vote B. That's the leader in the clubhouse, but not by much right now. About 57-43 people say that is one less AFC juggernaut. Again, what was your initial reaction to the Aaron Rodgers injury? Do you feel bad for New York, or do you view it as a Browns fan saying, hey, that's one less team we have to compete with? Juan tweets the show, facts, I feel bad for him, but not the Jets. Blank them. Way to do it as a Browns fan. So this morning, Reflog actually... I saw that he mentioned this too. So Warren Sharp, I follow Warren. He is a analytics guy. He runs his own website, pretty informational, and it's all football. And he sent a tweet out about the Jets making a phone call potentially to go get Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And Warren tweeted this not as he's hearing this. It was more of a fan tweet. He joked. He said, this is the petition to start the Jets calling the Browns to go get Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And I was like, don't you dare. Don't do that. And I sit back for a second because that's not something that Andrew Berry can do. Like GMs, Nick Bosa, this came out not too long ago. 5 teams called the 49ers about Nick Bosa before he signed his deal, and the 49ers about hung the phone up. Okay, that's fine. And I'm sure they did, but you still have to field those calls, right? You still have to say, somebody comes to you and say, here's 5 first-round picks. You're going to think about it. Dorian Thompson-Robinson probably would not command that. The question is, what would you give up Dorian Thompson-Robinson for? I haven't even looked at what the Jets have, right? Like, I don't even know draft capital. But, like, and we'll get you to the Twitter inbox, at Matt Fontana 83, at Matt Fontana Show. Would you trade Dorian Thompson-Robinson for a second-round pick? Second-round pick. The Jets call you. I don't even know what number. Make it up. Let's say it's 45. 42, something like that. Mid to high second-round pick for Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Would you pull the trigger on that trade? And I already get the response on Twitter. KG tweets, I wouldn't make that trade in a million years. DTR could very well be the future of this franchise. Johnny tweets, I'll take 2 1s and 2 2s. I mean, when a team is desperate, you're in the position of power. Go and try to fleece them. Connie tweets, trade DTR to the Jets. You're a funny guy with a good Goodfellas gif, which I appreciated. Buck Zips, 5 first-round picks. You'll take him. Chris tweets, no, DTR is a good backup. And then Pat tweets, no. And I like this tweet here very much, too. Pat tweets, no, because Watson does like to run. And if he gets hurt, we need a solid quarterback in his place. DTR seems to be that guy, unless there's someone on the practice squad who's a sleeper and underrated free agent. They did bring in PJ Walker, so he's here. He's a guy that has actually started games in the NFL. And I want to start this conversation by saying, I like Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I do. If they call with a second-round pick, I'm making that trade. I'm sorry. Like, they're desperate, right? You're not getting a 1. I doubt very highly you're getting a 1. And I don't even know if the Jets have it, too. But just on the fact that and this is the hard part of being a fan, okay? You got to take Dorian Thompson-Robinson out. Take out the name. Here is your situation, Ryan. You drafted a guy in the 5th round, and in 6 months, 5 months, you flipped him into a 2. Every GM in the world would make that trade. Every single one of them. Especially at a position that you have $230 million fully guaranteed to. I don't even want to think about what Watson looked like on Sunday. I assume he's going to improve, and he even has mentioned some things now on a podcast about his footwork, and it sounds like he's going to figure some things out and move forward. Every GM in the NFL would make that move. Now, the fandom gets into it, right? Dorian Thompson-Robinson was the darling of training camp, and I think he has the potential to be a long-standing backup quarterback for the Browns for a lot of years to come. And I'm not trying to trade him away. If the Jets called me today and said, we'll give you a second-round pick for DTR, Andrew Berry needs to make that move. I'm sorry. You just do.
Yeah, so I think at least from where I'm standing, the first question you got to ask yourself is this. If in the unfortunate situation Deshaun Watson goes down with an injury, do you believe that DTR could come in his rookie season and still make the Browns a true Super Bowl contender? Because if if you believe that the answer is yes, then no way in hell are you going to trade DTR.
Well, and here's the balance, right? Because anytime a franchise quarterback goes down, like the Jets are dealing with, your team is usually fried. Like, your team is usually in a lot of trouble. And they could try to rally it this morning and saying, hey, we still believe in Zach Wilson. I mean, there is a reason that Zach Wilson is still there. And I think they could do a lot worse. Like, to be completely honest with you, I think they could do a lot worse than Zach Wilson, which is kind of asinine to say. But seriously, like, there's worse quarterbacks out there. And there's always been this thing about, you got to have a good backup. And I know it's kind of a thing here in Cleveland about the backup quarterback and all that stuff. I get it. I understand it. But it's a position that you really should not need. In the intermediate, in the 3 to 5 game missing, that's when you would sit there and say, okay, if you could just keep it alive for 3 games. What do we see with Jacoby Brissett? He tried to keep it afloat for 11 games, almost did, really kind of should have outside of that Jets game. And you still didn't make it, right? A good backup quarterback for the season puts you, like, if you need a backup quarterback to start the whole season, you're done. You're done. And that's just the unfortunate part of the game. And a GM will try to tell you that they have it set up and that they have the best one in the room and all that. We had one. Case Keenum. Everybody used to, oh my God, Case Keenum, one of the best backup quarterbacks you could have. A, you didn't really need him to play. And B, when you did need him to play, you didn't play him because Baker Mayfield was too freaking stubborn to get out there. You tear an Achilles, you're out. This isn't something of like, I'll go out there and play on it. No. It's different with the Jets. And they'll probably roll with Zach Wilson. But I just don't get so infatuated. That comes from, this is going to start on Twitter already, about me hating on DTR and that I trade him away. I'm not trying to trade him away. But if Woody Johnson called and said, you want a 2? You got to make that trade. You absolutely have to make that trade. Now, that being said, CBS ran through a list this morning of the quarterbacks that they believe the Jets could replace Aaron Rodgers with. Jordan Zhang said it this morning. All right, so here we go. The 5 quarterbacks on the list. Number 5, Carson Wentz. He is a free agent. He's been working on. Did you see that cringe video of him, man? He had like a Colts helmet on with like Washington, like a shirt, like all the teams that he'd played for. It was like a Colts helmet, a Washington shirt, and a Eagles like shorts, like practice pants or something like that. It's like, bro, let it go. Like,
you think maybe Carson Wentz will be our generation's journeyman, like Fitzmagic?
Well, somebody needs to replace, which, by the way, he's not on this list. Somebody needs to replace Phillip Rivers as that guy that just continually gets called. Maybe it's Carson Wentz. Also, Joe Flacco not on this list. G. Flacco came out this week, and he's like, I can still play. He was obviously on the Jets. He beat the Browns last year. But anyway, I digress. So Carson Wentz was 5. Obviously not a great answer. Number 4, Zach Wilson. He's already there. Might as well let him play. We'll see how it goes. Number 3, you trade for Jameis Winston. That's an interesting one. Carr's the starter in New Orleans. I think that could make a little sense. Number 2, trade for Jacoby Brissett. Brissett obviously has lost the starting job to Sam Howell. If I'm Washington, though, I don't really have a lot of faith that Sam Howell's going to keep that job. So I don't know if I traded him. And number 1, because it wouldn't be a quarterback list if it didn't bring up, bringing Tom Brady out of retirement. They'll make that phone call.
Do you think that Tom Brady would even consider that?
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. He'd consider it.
You think he's still dreaming about stepping inside the white lines?
Yeah, he'd consider it. Now, for how, and granted, it goes back to a lot of players, like Gronk did this, and I'm not even making the comparison because it's Brady and Gronk. Like Gronk, he lost a bunch of weight, and that is like the end all be all. Like when you see an NFL player that all of a sudden is no longer I'm not saying in shape because there's all those pictures of Brady, he looks ripped and jacked and all that kind of stuff. And quarterback, I guess, is a little bit different, but that is the end all be all when the players go like, I'm done maintaining an NFL body. Some guys need to keep weight on, some guys need to keep weight off. Like I think he's done. I do. And is Tom Brady not a part owner of a team? Is he not a part owner of the Raiders? Yeah, he can't play. Owners can't play. That's a rule in the NFL. So I don't know how he'd have to. Let me see. I should have read this article first. Okay. So this is the write-up. Wouldn't this be, I mean, again, this is from CBS Sports this morning of if the Jets were to lure Tom Brady out of retirement. He was just in New England where he got his run around, he got his jersey retired, all that kind of stuff. He told fans he's a Patriot for life, but this is the same guy that retired from football to only return to the Bucs a month later. Not only would Brady have to want to return and want to play against his former AFC team, there's an issue of his ownership stake with the Raiders, which could cause some issues. Unlikely, yes. Impossible, there's no such thing in the NFL. I think they're done. They're going to move on. And honestly, of all the options there, they're just going to run it with Zach Wilson because he's already on the roster. You don't have to give any picks up for him. You're just paying him. All the rest of those are either trades or I guess Carson Wentz is out there, but I'd rather roll with Zach Wilson. Here's the situation, right? You know that Aaron Rodgers is coming back next year. Like even before the injury, that was kind of like the way his contract was set up. He's going to play for the Jets next year. So why not play Zach Wilson? Hope he actually plays well, and then you can either trade him away or say, hey, sit one more year, and then you're our starter. Like, I don't see any reason for the Jets to not play. The only reason would be is if they think they could actually get a better quarterback to try to take them somewhere, which I can't even, like, really... Because they also gave up so much capital and draft money to go get Aaron Rodgers. What 1-year rental are they going to get? They're screwed. They're in a lot of trouble. It goes back to our 2 for Tuesday question up at Matt Fontana Show on Twitter. How do you feel as a Browns fan watching what happened to the Jets? Do you feel bad for them? Or it's, nope, that's one less playoff contending team. Screw them. Quick results on that. By the way, let me get the Twitter box here real quick. We are at 73-27. So it's opened up a little bit. People actually say one less team in the AFC you got to compete for. So there you go. At Matt Fontana Show on Twitter. You can also get the live stream of the show. Well, the Cavs made a very interesting signing yesterday. They bring back world champion Tristan Thompson. I think he provides a nice role for the team. That being said, he does not get his jersey in the rafters. He does not. Unless he does something on this time around with the Cavs. We'll discuss that. Bringing back Tristan Thompson for the wine and gold. We'll get into a little bit of basketball. We'll keep going on the football as well, coming up about 9:45. We've got an overreaction from Dan Graziano on ESPN talking about the Browns potentially winning the AFC North. We'll get to all of that. Stay with us right here. Matt Fontana Show. We're on iHeart. We're on YouTube. We're on social media right here on Big Play. brought back a champion, former champion, yesterday as they signed Tristan Thompson to a 1-year deal. I thought it was a joke when I first saw it, and then I made sure it was really shams with the check mark. So it was legit. The Cavs are bringing back Tristan Thompson, and it kind of brings up the debate, I think, that always surrounds Tristan Thompson. We'll have it this morning right here on Big Play. Welcome back, Matt Fontana Show, iHeart app, and check us out on YouTube and social media. So Thompson, who I got nothing for against Tristan Thompson. He's a good player. He helped us win a championship. But Tristan Thompson always comes up as a guy that should have his jersey up in the rafters. And I vehemently disagree with that. I don't think Kyrie should. I don't think Kevin Love should either. There's one guy, and we know who it is. It's LeBron James, and he will get that one day. He should get a street, and this whatever he wants named after him, he can have it. I like Cleveland. It's a nice name for a town, but if he really wants it, he can have it, okay? That's it. That's it. And people get tied up in, you don't win a championship without Tristan Thompson. You probably don't win one without Channing Frye and Richard. I mean, up and down, did they score points at some point? Yeah, they helped you win. I get it. Like, is Tristan Thompson the fourth most important player behind Kyrie, LeBron, and Kevin Love? Yeah, sure, probably. The fourth. And I don't know many teams that retire jerseys of the fourth most important guy on a championship squad. Jersey retirements are meant to be for the fans more often than not, right? Like that's something that, you honor the player, but it's meant for the fans to look up and have all this nostalgia and all this other kind of stuff. I get it. I understand it. They did Z as a thing to LeBron, okay? They retired Z's jersey because of a LeBron thing. They retired Austin Carr because he is Mr. Cavalier. Bobby Bingo Smith, all those jerseys that are up there. Those were not championship-level teams. Clearly, only won the one. So sometimes when you're a team that's down, you got to assert. Like, for the Browns, a lot of their jersey retirements are guys that won championships or were part of championship teams. Joe Thomas didn't get that distinction because he played during one of the worst eras of Browns football, but he's still a Hall of Famer. I also will say a Hall of Famer, you get your jersey retired. Well, because Kevin Love is probably going to the Hall of Fame. All right, fine, you can have Kevin Love. Tristan Thompson, no. Like, when I sit there and I think about Tristan Thompson in a Cavaliers uniform, he's top 10 in rebounds and games, and those numbers obviously will go up. That's not enough for him to get his jersey retired. I'm sorry. I have to say, and it's come back. Here's the one path that he can get his jersey up in the rafters. He wins a ring with this group. I'm not saying that he's going to do it as the fourth most important player. He's taken over the Robin Lopez role, right? He is going to, and Grant, I think we could use a rebound against the Knicks. Rebounding, little veteran leadership. Hey, I've done this before. I've been here before. And that's it. Like, I truly, at the end of the season, I think he will average 2.5 minutes per game. That's it. If that. Like, he's not going to play consistent minutes. There's going to be weeks that you don't see him. And he just provides a little back end, depth when it comes to Allen and Mobley. And that's it. That's all I see it when it comes to Tristan Thompson. But it's funny when they signed him, and people are like, Cavs legend. I like Tristan Thompson. I do. And he got paid. He got a lot of money from the Cavs. Good. Fine. Great. Needed a championship. He won you a championship. He's part of that. He gets the banner that all the rest of them get. The one that's already up there, the one that says 2016 World Champions? He's on. That's his banner. Give him that one. Like, you don't have to celebrate. I'm celebrating everybody. I really am. Not everybody gets that distinction. Like, I truly believe that it should only be LeBron. That's it. I could maybe be talked into Kevin Love, right? But I think Kevin Love will probably make the Hall of Fame. So if you do that, you probably should. Whatever. I'm that. But no, not Tristan Thompson. I'm sorry, not Tristan Thompson.
Yeah, the NBA is a little bit weird in that sense, right? Like, so take, for instance, Draymond Green. And I'm not comparing Draymond Green to Tristan Thompson. Obviously, right. Draymond's had a better career. But, like, Draymond at no point, and I think we can agree on this, at no point in his career was Draymond, honestly, a legit top 15 player.
No, not with his offensive game. No.
And he's going to be a lock for the Hall of Fame.
Correct.
So the NBA is interesting in that way. But I do like Tristan Thompson. I like the toughness he can bring. And I want to see him and Jared Allen get into it in practice. And I want to see him toughen up Jared Allen.
That's a great take.
And teach him to get some boards. Man.
Yeah, that's a great take on one of the things that obviously was the downfall of the Cavs in that Knicks series was they got bullied off the court. Somebody who don't get bullied off the court very much? Tristan Thompson. That's a damn good take. You're right. And that's maybe the reason that they did it. This isn't meant to be a shot at Robin Lopez. This is a clear upgrade. Of that, like, there are positions on a basketball team that nobody talks about, right? We talk a little bit about the backup point guard, which is important. But this is one of a veteran big man. It's not a sexy thing. It's not a high-paid position, but every team has to have that. And you could do worse than Tristan Thompson. I really frankly think this is an upgrade from Robin Lopez. The other thing about where the Cavs kind of sit now, which is crazy because they're going to be starting training camp before we know it. Like, we're going to be into October, and they start the season in the end of October, which is exciting. But they had one, and that's it. So now you have your roster. They go get Max Strus. They have a team that you should, again, I'm going to have the same expectations that I did last year, a top 4 seed. Top 4 seed in the East. And just try to avoid what happened last year against the Knicks. Is Tristan Thompson the key to all of that? No, not at all. Does he help? Sure. But your best world is Tristan Thompson averaging less than 3 minutes per game. And he's in there to help in practice. And like you said, help toughen up Jared Allen a little bit. I'm for that all day long. But jumping back into the NFL, after week 1, there's a lot of overreaction. I don't think it's overreaction to say the Jets are fried and cooked, like they are done. But there's some overreaction. Cowboys, Tyreek Hill, and maybe about the Browns potentially winning the division. Dan Graziano of ESPN, he put out his overreactions of week 1, and one of them has to do with the Browns. We'll get to that. We'll update our 2 for Tuesday. I do want to talk a little Jack Conklin, too. I meant to do that earlier, but Conklin officially out. We now turn things over to DeJuan Jones. We'll get into that, a little bit of discussion. We got the morning update coming up at 10 o'clock as well. Locked and loaded right here. Big play. Stay with us. So the NFL back finally after the offseason. Week 1 in the books, some ups, some downs. But when you crave something as much as we crave football, it's easy to watch week 1 and be like, yep, we know this about this team or that. Overreactions are aplenty. Dan Graziano ran through 5 overreactions and decided if he agrees with them or not. One of them has to do with the Cleveland Browns. Talk about it right here on Big Play. Welcome back. Matt Fontana, Ryan Tyler, Big Play. Go to the app, iHeart app, I should say, excuse me. You can download, really on the iHeart app. Let me explain that for a second. If you're in the work, in the car, whatever you need, go to the iHeart app and just search Big Play. And the station will come up. Like, it's a 24-hour day station. Chico comes up at noon. We're live every morning from 9 to 11. And then also our show is replayed in the afternoon, as is Chico's. And then it's the whole day of the Reflog show, the Bobby Carpenter show, Booby show, Josh Maria's show, all that kind of stuff, all day on the iHeart app. So download it there. And then we're also YouTube channel, Matt Fontana Show, and then on Twitter, Matt Fontana Show as well. So overreaction or underreaction is how Dan Graziano does 5 things after week 1. And the first one that he has on his list, is it an overreaction or an underreaction that the Browns will win the AFC North? We've all been waiting. We haven't done it. Honestly, we've never won the AFC North because it was AFC Central before. Now it's AFC North since it was done in 2002. I haven't won it. So Dan writes, Cleveland flat out dominated the Bengals and won the division flat out dominated the Bengals, a team that has won the division the last 2 years and been in the AFC Championship game since. We know Joe Burrow didn't play well. By the way, the money came out on Joe Burrow's deal. Get to that a little bit later. Elsewhere in the AFC North, the Steelers were outclassed by the 49ers, and the Ravens beat up on a bad Houston team, but also lost J.K. Dobbins in the process. His verdict on overreaction or underreaction of the Browns winning the division is overreaction. He doesn't think they're going to do it. He says, the Browns could be good. They could be good enough to be division champs for the first time since 1989. But this week 1 game was far from proof. Consider that Burrow threw 4 interceptions in an ugly season-opening division loss to the Steelers last year and still recovered to win the division is food for thought. Consider that the Bengals went 1-5 against the Browns over the previous 3 seasons and still managed to win the division the past 2. And the Browns and the Bengals have enough in the bank at this point to deserve... Burrow and the Bengals have enough in the bank at this point to deserve the benefit of the doubt. And Graziano brings up kind of what we know. Deshaun Watson didn't look great. And that's another thing as we come out of this game. We're 24 hours removed. We'll kind of turn our attention to the Steelers coming up. How much was it truly the weather? Like, Watson jumped on his podcast and he talked about his footwork. And he said a lot of it was his footwork. His footwork wasn't where it needed to be, which, as we know, can lead to errant throws. Like, that was kind of more of his excuse making for the balls hitting the dirt and just being not even close. I'm not a quarterback guru. I don't know. 2 things we've established today. I am not an orthopedic surgeon, and I'm not a quarterback guru. Those are 2 things I don't do. That's why I do a radio or TV, radio, digital show. That's why we're here. If it's the footwork, okay, fine. They'll get that fixed, right? But like, if you want to chalk the weather up, chalk it up. But we know Burrow played poorly too. So that's where, like, I look at Graziano. I get it. He wants to sit there and say this is something the Browns have never done, and it's still Cincinnati. Give him the benefit of doubt. If I had to pick an overreaction or underreaction of the Browns winning the division, I guess, Ryan, I would go with Dan Graziano and say that it's an overreaction, just mostly because it's just week 1. Doesn't mean I'm not excited about the game. Doesn't mean I don't think the Browns proved something and really sent a message to Cincinnati, but there's still a lot more to be played.
Yeah. I had 2 things on this. One, Bengals fans can go cope because Joe Burrow plays in the same state as Deshaun Watson. It's not like he's down south where it's sunny all the time and he doesn't play in bad conditions. He's in Cincinnati, for Christ's sake. And secondly, I know Deshaun Watson didn't look good. But it's going to be a thing where, let's criticize Deshaun Watson, but, Burrow gets the benefit of the doubt. And we know mainstream, Cleveland fans all know that mainstream media, it's going to take a lot more than that to put the Browns on the spotlight and actually give them credit. And we know that, and we don't care.
Well, I mean, the thing about Watson is he doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt. And he has said that. Like, because preseason and throughout training camp, Watson was asked multiple times, like, you're not on anybody's list of all these national writers and all these people that put out power rankings and quarterback power rankings and PFF and fantasy football rankings. Deshaun Watson was not high on any list. And I think it's twofold. Number one, mostly is he's played 6 games in 2 years. Those 6 games didn't look good. This is a new offense. There's a lot to question there. Just from an X's and O's standpoint, sure. But also, there's a lot of good quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, this is not an era where it is dominated by 5 to 7 quarterbacks. You make the case that in today's NFL, there are now 10 to 12 legitimate franchise Super Bowl contending quarterbacks. And you might laugh at some over another. Technically, Dak Prescott is on that list. Now, is he closer to 12 than he is 1? Yeah, sure. We know the ones. We know the ones that are up there. The Mahomes, the Jalen Hurts. Herbert should be there. Trevor Lawrence should be there. Yeah, you take Josh Allen for granted, but whatever. Where Deshaun Watson slides into that, yeah, it's probably down that list. It's probably even tier 2, but he's still there. And the fact that Watson said that all preseason, where he goes, I don't deserve to be on those lists because I haven't done anything. And it is a what have you done for me lately? What are you doing now? And it's going to take time to prove that it's actually going to work. And I hate playing that Cleveland, the woe is me bullcrap card of Cleveland. I hate that more than anything, trust me. But there is something to be said of you are taking over a team that has not had relative success. Again, you went to one playoff, you beat the Steelers, great with Baker Mayfield, fantastic. It's not like Deshaun Watson got traded to the Patriots right after the run that Tom Brady had. It's not like he went to a team that has this long-standing success. There's still a lot of questions around the team's success. And that's another debate that I think Browns fans are having when we watch week 1, right? Because you saw the Browns win a game where Deshaun Watson played like the 25th best quarterback in the NFL, right? I'm just making up a number. He was not a top 10 quarterback on Sunday. Now, granted, neither was Joe Burrow, but here's your takeaway. The Browns won the football game. They won a game where Deshaun Watson played like crap, whether it was his footwork or the weather, or I don't even care anymore. But that's something to be taken away. There are teams that are built, and most NFL teams are this way. When your quarterback plays poorly, you're probably going to lose. You might have a game like we did Sunday where they both play bad and you somehow find a way to get a win. Great. But there is that recalibration I think Browns fans need to have. Watching the defense play the way they did and watching how Nick Chubb ran the football. You can make the playoffs, which is not enough, I get it, but you can make the playoffs and, dare I say, try to get to an AFC championship game with Deshaun Watson being the 10th best quarterback in the NFL. You want to scream, that's not what we paid him for. Sorry. He's here, and you hope that he would ascend. You hope that he'll get better, right? But there's a world that the 10th best quarterback in the NFL, if that is Deshaun Watson, if he's 10, you're probably going to have a good football team. I don't know if I can make that. I'm not going to go team by team, but like, you know, if Trevor Lawrence is the 10th best quarterback, I don't think Jacksonville's going anywhere, right? Like, they need him to play to a high level. There are teams that are just, it's this balancing act of what you need out of your quarterback versus everything else. And the Browns are just a really built football team. So that's where watching how he played in week 1, I'll give Dan Graziano credit for the overreaction. I kind of agree. Like, it's one game, and there's a lot built up in that tank about the Bengals. But, did you know this, Ryan? That no team since the AFC North, 2002, no team has won it 3 years in a row. 2, sure, that happened.
I believe
Steelers, right?
Early 2000 Steelers?
Yeah. No team has won it 3 times in a row. So, the odds would tell you that, and again, here come the Ravens, here come the Browns. You try to make those overreactions. I kind of get where Graziano's coming with an overreaction. The Browns will win the AFC North. His other overreactions, number 2, will Tyreek Hill win the MVP? He says this is not an overreaction. You're shaking your head. Does he play quarterback? No. He's probably not going to win the MVP. Here's the perfect storm. Let me create you this perfect storm for Tyreek Hill to win the MVP. And it starts with the quarterbacks. It's quarterback award. Here's your trivia question. Who's the last non-quarterback to win the MVP?
2012, Adrian Peterson.
Nice. Good pull. Adrian Peterson is correct. Wide receiver's super hard because if he's putting up gaudy numbers, you believe Tua is putting up gaudy numbers. Here is the path for Tyreek Hill to win the MVP. there are 5 quarterbacks that are just bonkers this year. Record setting for Mahomes and Herbert and Tua and Jalen Hurts and throw somebody else in, where there's no clear distinction, right? If they all throw 40 touchdowns and they all throw for 4,000 odd some yards or whatever it is, like you need to have a group of quarterbacks like be indistinguishable amongst themselves to take away like, okay, maybe it can't be one of those. Because if you have 4 or 5 guys that all have pretty close stat lines and they all won, 13 to maybe 14 games, how can you really pick one? That would be the path for Tyreek Hill to win it. He's not winning it. He's not. So Graziano to say it's not an overreaction. Here's the thing. He will most likely get hurt. He will most likely miss some games. And quarterbacks missing games are a little bit different than a position like this because you are going against the grain. You are going against the grain of a non-quarterback winning this award. So you need everything to be perfect. You need to play every single game. And also, you're going to need something like kind of what Tyreek Hill did in week 1. He's the only player. Here's the stat I saw on this. He's the only player in NFL history to have 2 games of 10 receptions, 200 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's the only one to ever do that. Like that alone is pretty impressive. And that game was a good kickoff for that because it was on a big stage. That game should have been on Sunday Night Football.
You know what's crazy about that stat, Matt? I want to say I remember that the first game he did that. I'm almost positive he did that in the first half.
Yeah, I think you're right. Something crazy like that. And Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill. He's different than almost anybody. He's the fastest guy in the field. I know he's got off the field stuff, whatever. But I could see it. Like in a world like last year where Justin Jefferson kind of, that's where I think the MVP gets like it's really misnamed. Yes, the most valuable player. Well, look at the quarterback contracts. We'll look at Joe Burrow's coming up in an hour or two. They are the most valuable, clearly. Quarterback's the most important position in all sports. That's where then offensive player of the year and defensive player of the year, that's like okay, you were truly MVPs, but just you're not a quarterback. So I don't think there's any way Tyreek Hill is winning the MVP. Overreaction on a rant from Dan Graziano. Number 3, the Cowboys are the NFC's most complete team. And he says that is not an overreaction. With seeing what the Cowboys defense did, which I put a giant asterisk next to because Daniel Jones couldn't do anything in that game. You add in, Dak Prescott's still good. Tony Pollard is very good. Offensive line is solid. CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. But really, it's the defense. Parsons, Dante Fowler, Armstrong, DeMarcus Lawrence, Trevon Diggs. I could see that. They would have to buck off the 49ers for me because, the 49ers would probably be my vote. Maybe the Eagles for most complete. And that's scary because you think about all those teams, they truly do have it all. Like they're truly, you can't say that about Kansas City. Now they got Chris Jones back too, which we'll maybe get to that in the morning update coming up. Chris Jones is back. Okay, good for him. But for most complete team, sure, I could listen to the Cowboys being a part of that. Number 4, the Lions are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Dan and I finally agree, and that is an overreaction. Okay, that is a complete overreaction. Nice win against the Chiefs, not Kelsey. I get it. Okay, fine. You can add the Bills and the Lions as the 2 teams that might be top of my list that I'm not buying. I just can't buy it. And the final one from Dan Graziano, overreaction, underreaction. The Packers were right to move on from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. And he said that's not an overreaction. It's kind of a cop-out. They really didn't have a choice. He wanted to leave, and it was the right thing to do to move on. Now, crowning Jordan Love a franchise quarterback, let's pump that brake. Because I saw a tweet of Dove Kleiman, who's an aggregator on Twitter. And he said that draft class might go down as one of the best of all time because you have a case that you could have 5 legitimate franchise quarterbacks. You had Burrow, Herbert, Tua, Jalen Hurts, and if you add Jordan Love to that list, it's 1 game. Okay, calm down. And Jordan Love might be very good, but it's just been 1 game. So we'll kind of pump the brakes on that. All right, we get the morning update. We'll get you updated on everything going on around the world, the sports world, Monday Night Football. That's in the books. First weekend of football is done. And a very famous band not coming to Cleveland. They had to postpone their tour. We'll get to all of it. It's Fontana's show right here on Big Play. let's get you caught up. We got actually some even more news coming out about the Steelers. Browns Steelers Monday Night Football. No Cam Hayward, another player added to that list. I teased about a band. I'll tell you, we'll discuss. There's a very famous band not coming to Cleveland. And somebody texted me. They go, I'm a giant 311 fan. It's not 311. It's somebody, much as it pains me to say, they're a little bigger than 311. But we'll get to all of it. Ryan, take it away with the morning update.
Alrighty, some more football news. Chris Jones agrees to a one-year deal to return to the Chiefs, ending his holdout. It's safe to say that they were missing him on Thursday night. Matt, let me ask you this. How much of a difference would that have made for the Chiefs?
I think a lot. It's more about when he's doing that, he hopes that the Chiefs lose. Like, I'm sorry, call that for what it is. Like, he sat up there because he was there because they got their rings and it was the Super Bowl ceremony. So he was sitting in that press box and you saw him. His agent was sitting right next to him. His agent was on the phone. Chris had his phones out. And he hoped that they lost because then he could sit there and say, here I am as one of the best defensive players in football. I want my money. So here's what it comes out to this morning. He was on the franchise tag. And he's going to keep that base salary of $19.5 million. But now he has a bunch of incentives, okay? Here's the math. Under his prior deal, he was due $19.5 million with a $500,000 workout bonus plus $1.25 million for 10 sacks. That was a max value of $21.25 million. He gave up $3.6 million in fines. So take that all in, right? He had a max value a little over 21, and he gave up 3.6 in fines, which are not rescindable, by the way. Like the 49ers took Nick Bosa's fines back because he was on a rookie deal. Veterans that are fined for holdouts, you can't take that money back. So that's where we're at. So here it is. He can make $3.5 million by playing 50% of the snaps, probably going to happen, reaching 15 sacks, and earning first-team All-Pro with the Chiefs. That gets him his money back. Then he gets $2 million if he wins Defensive Player of the Year and the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. So again, he gets 3.5 by playing 50% of the snaps, reaching 15 sacks, and earning first-team All-Pro. Then he gets another $2 million if he wins Defensive Player of the Year and the Chiefs win the Super Bowl. That gets him a new max value of $23 million. Is that better? Seriously. Like, granted, it's an incentive thing where the Chiefs go, dude, if you go get, 15 sacks and make All-Pro, like, great, that's fine, we'll pay you. But, like, Chris Jones was making it out to be like, oh, I got all my money back. Did you? I'm not... the path is there. But this isn't some... We see these incentives that are a load of bull crap. $100,000 for active on the... That's not this. Like, those are pretty high marks to try to make. And I would dare say that $2 million for Defensive Player of the Year and the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl, I don't think he's getting that. So he's basically got the same deal that he had before, but he gets the money back from the fines that he could have just played under and been, like, not gone through all. Doesn't make sense. I guess good for the Chiefs. They got him back. I really think the Chiefs won that deal. I really do. I don't think he's getting those. We'll see.
Into the world of baseball. The Guardians fall in extras to the Giants as Clase once again struggles to close the game. They're 68-77 with 17 games left. Let me ask you, Matt, what do you need to see in this last stretch of the season to end this rather underwhelming, disappointing season on a high note?
There is no high note. Like, it's over, and it's late. I've maintained this. I'll say it here. The runner in extra innings is stupid. They did it to speed up the game. Rob, you sped the game up. Rob Manfred is who I'm talking to. You sped the game up with the pitch clock. The pitch clock is unanimously accepted. It's great. It's awesome. Get rid of that stupid freaking runner on second base. It's one of the stupidest things that I've ever seen in my life. That all being said, nobody get hurt. If you're going to play Jose Ramirez still, if you're going to play Andres Gimenez every day, that's fine. I think they'll bring up some of the rookies. You got to worry about service time, this and that. Just, I literally don't, I'm sorry to say I don't really care anymore. Just nobody get hurt. All our attention will turn to Terry Francona's replacement. That is the biggest story that will come out of the rest of this year for the Guardians. Who's their new manager? Because feel pretty confident saying it's not going to be Terry Francona moving forward. And those lists will start coming out, and they'll bring up a lot of big names, and that's going to be the biggest thing, the next domino to fall for the Guards.
A little more Aaron Rodgers and Jets news via Peter Schrager. Multiple Jets coaches have not slept due to the devastation of Aaron Rodgers' Achilles injury. Quote, "It's 7:05 in the morning and I've been texting with 3 different Jets coaches for the last several hours. They haven't slept. They're like so many Jets fans this morning. Devastated over Rodgers and devastated for Aaron Rodgers."
I mean, coaching, as we know, that it's the grind of all grinds. These guys see their kids twice a week. They work 18, 19-hour days during the season. And a lot of what they do and their success and the money that they make are tied to other people, right? If you don't have the players, doesn't matter how good your scheme is. And there are a lot of coaches, probably Robert Saleh and Nathaniel Hackett, who's buddy-buddy with Aaron Rodgers and all that, just watch their season implode. And also now that their season becomes that much harder. Like, not only is their job on the line, it also became 10 times harder for them to keep their jobs because they need to win. And I don't know, I feel bad that this is entering my mind, and I don't want it to, but it did, so sorry, here we are. That could be a potential competition for a head coach opening if the Browns were to go that way. And I hope that's not the case, and I believe in Kevin Stefanski, and I want Kevin Stefanski to be the head coach of the Browns, and I hope we go to the playoffs so that's not an issue. But another fall off of this Aaron Rodgers situation, if the Jets do not give Robert Saleh the pass, right? That is the biggest kind of question is, will the Jets look at this and Robert Saleh, Nathaniel Hackett, and all those coaches and say, yeah, here you go. Like, that's okay. You lost your starting quarterback, your franchise quarterback. We'll give you the pass. Or are they going to be ruthless and go, nope, you still didn't perform? And there's a sliding scale of what you expect. Like, now that he's out, I would still say they need to win 8-9 games, maybe. I don't know, whatever. But if they fire Robert Saleh, that's now an opening that if the Browns, and I'm going to just try to believe that they're not going to move on from Kevin Stefanski, but if they did, there's an opening, and I think there would be some interest in the Jets. They're a really good, young team. They have some good pieces on that roster and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the coaches are neurotic because they know probably what happened last night. Like, their jobs became that much harder, and I mean, it's all the things. And coaches have talked about this, and I've heard players discuss this. Like, their kids go, and that's the other side of sports we don't talk enough about. Their kids go to school. Like, are we going to have to move again? Or am I going to have to leave? Like, we had Greg Williams on our pregame, right? Coach Greg stopped by on Sunday, which was awesome. It was great to see him. He still lives in Cleveland, right? But there was times that he wasn't here or moved all around. Like, those are the stuff you don't think about. So I get where I'm sure it's a very somber day there in New York, and they're trying to piece this together and figure out what the hell they're going to do.
Shams dropped a little bit of news in the NBA world for us yesterday afternoon. The NBA Board of Governors is expected to vote this week on new policy that a team is unable to rest 2 star players in the same game.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm super glad you brought that up. Define star, right? Like, that's like the NBA, their battle right now is the resting of players. And it's a double-edged sword because if you try to tell the teams to protect the integrity of going for a championship, then they're going to tell you, we're not playing LeBron James 82 games. Kevin Durant is not going to play 80 games this year. They have to sit. They have to rest. And the thing is, all the statistics and everything in the NBA shows you that load management works, right? So why would they not do it? So then you have this battle of, do you sit star players at home where you have 41 opportunities to see them, but then the home fans are going to say, well, we're at home. You should play them at home, right? Then you have players or teams that are on the road that you'd only get to see Kawhi Leonard once here in Cleveland. We only get to see LeBron once here in Cleveland. And if you paid a lot of money for that and heartbreak of your kids, what are you going to do? And then again, what is your definition of star player? They've made an all-NBA team in their past. And I'm shooting from the hip here, Ryan. Did they define at all what a star player is?
Not that I've seen, but I know that's very subjective.
Because what What if they went to each team? They're like, you need to designate 2 star players per team. And the Cavs come out and they're like, all right, our star players are Tristan Thompson and Howell Neto. I don't think Howell Neto's on the Cavs anymore, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it would be different,
it's
you know.
Dean Wade. We're going to designate Dean Wade and Howell Neto. And, I hope Ricky Rubio comes back.
There's stars in the locker room.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what are you going to, how are you going to sit there? Are they going to come out before the season and be like, hey, here's our list of guys? The teams are going to go blank off. You want to know why they're doing this? Money. Because the TV contracts get nervous. What they should do, and then the problem is with the regional sports, the local ones, the rule should be is don't sit them on national TV. That solves everything. It's not every game. But then there are some teams, remember when the Cavs were in the Cavs were winning championship, they were on national TV every week. I don't know. I think it is one of those things that it is ungovernable. Is that a word? I'm making this up. I don't know. It is how are you going to sit there and tell people who are star players or who are not, how they're going to play, when then you also then turn around to teams and go, oh, hey, by the way, we're going to add a stupid midseason tournament and play even more games. Think how stupid that is. The NBA, to make more money, added a midseason tournament, and added games, but then want to turn around and tell these teams, hey, wait, we're going to add games, but you better not sit those guys. Wouldn't the fair thing to do be like, hey, we're going to add this midseason tournament and make money off of that, so you know what? We actually don't care about resting players anymore. But that's not how the NBA operates. It's a pickle. I mean, I think they're I don't want to say crosshairs at this thing, but the PA is going to be pissed, the players are going to be pissed, and so are the teams. Something's got to get figured out. We'll see.
Already, a state judge in Washington granted a temporary restraining order Monday to prevent the Pac-12 conference from meeting as a board later this week. Judge Gary Libby ruled in favor of Oregon State and Washington State and Whitman County after they jointly filed a complaint Friday that saw the potential of the Pac-12 meeting as a board and voting as an imminent and existential threat to the future of the conference.
Existentialism. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers is into that. No, like the legal side of this is you can get. I don't have much in the legal world, but they can file an injunction and kind of do this. The horse is out of the barn, man. It's over. The Pac-12 is fried. There are a couple teams still waiting around. The ACC said they take a few. It's over. So trying to stop this or trying to file these injunctions now, it's really a waste of time and a waste of effort. They should probably start putting themselves towards where they're going to go or trying to get a new conference built up. Sorry, it's over. The Pac-12's dead.
Last bit of news for us this morning. Steven Tyler, lead man of Aerosmith, is struggling with his vocal cords, leading to their farewell concert being a mystery.
The fact that you hear that all the time, because Kiss just had their farewell tour. And what do bands do? They break up, they get back together, they go on tour again, they make a lot of money. I was at the Blink-182 concert because Tom is back and we got to go. But eventually, yes, bands like Aerosmith, they got to be in their 70s now, right? How old's Steven Tyler? He's 75 years old. He is 75 years old. Still up there ripping it to Dream On, man. I feel bad, and I feel bad for the fans that want to go for the final one. The other thing, you got to understand that they're probably not the same. For people that saw Aerosmith in the 90s, probably in their height 80s, 90s, I'm assuming it's not quite the same. And that kind of sucks because it really is that's life. Things that you love, or when you see bands that break up or people unfortunately pass away, that's part of your childhood or how you grew up. So 75 years old. I feel bad for Clevelanders because they had to postpone this and push it off, but it's insane to me, Ryan, that they're still able to tour, right? Think about all the things that they've gone.
We were just talking about him and Ozzy Osbourne.
I know Ozzy's got battling some health things and that kind of stuff, but how are those guys still alive? For all the things that they did, all the drugs that they consumed, and yet they're still here at age 75 and still performing?
Ask Ozzy, maybe the key to life is snorting fire ants.
I guess that must be it. The bat, maybe there's something with that. I don't know. Do you know that Ozzy thought it was fake? That's why he bit it. He didn't know it was real until he bit it on that. My favorite Steven Tyler thing was that he was in a limo with Joe Perry from Aerosmith one time, and one of their songs came on, and Steven Tyler, of course, all messed up, turns to Joe Perry and he goes, "Man, this is a great song. We should cover this song." And Joe Perry goes, "Steven, this is us." And he goes, "Really?" They lived a hard life, and yet they're somehow still here. I hope he rests up. I hope everybody that gets... Did they say when the postponement was? They just postponed. Because the other thing is, I saw, Ryan, like they're postponing a month. Oh my God, they're not coming to Cleveland until next year. Hang on. Shout out to Cleveland.com. Malcolm Abram reading his article this month. So they were supposed to be here September 21st at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. He suffered vocal cord damage this past weekend in New York. And things get worse and worse for New York. They're now coming in February. They're coming February 29th, 2024. So, crazy day there. Sucks for them. All right, we come back. I want to dive back into a little bit of football. Great stuff on the morning update, Ryan. We do it every morning here at 10 o'clock. I do want to revisit our 2 for Tuesday. And I got some people a little fired up with our Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And all I said was, if the Jets call for DTR, would you pick up the phone? Would you listen? And what draft pick would get it done? We'll dive back into that. It's Fontana Show this morning here on Big Play, iHeart app, YouTube, and streaming live on Twitter. We'll dive back into some Browns next. I got people all pissed off, apparently. Not the first time, not the last time here on the Matt Fontana Show on Big Play. I'm not trying to trade away Dorian Thompson-Robinson. I'm truly not. I'm not calling the Jets this morning and saying, hey, guys, you need a quarterback. We got one. He looked really good in preseason. I'm just saying if the Jets called, you need to take that call and see what they're offering. I want to get into the Jack Conklin situation, too. Unfortunately, this morning it's confirmed. ACL. We get to all of it. Matt Fontana here on Big Play. Check us out. iHeart app. Stream it. Download it. Go to Big Play. Or go to Alexa. What's the the other one, right? Alexa and Google. Or is Alexa the Google thing?
We're having a little bit of trouble with Alexa.
Okay, never mind. Don't go to Alexa. Never mind. Because usually you can go to your Alexa and just say play big play, and you can get us right on your streaming platform.
Apparently, Alexa can't handle two plays in the same sentence right now. Play big play.
Really? Like, that's the world we live in today. Whatever. Anyway, stream us on the app. It's super free, and coming soon, we might even have our own app. It'll be that easier for you to stream us, Chico, Reflog, Bernie, Booby, Josh, Bobby, Schlegel, everybody. We'll be there very, very soon. So I mentioned a little bit earlier about Dorian Thompson-Robinson, where the Jets need a quarterback. There's a list that we went through earlier on CBS Sports where all these other options, Carson Wentz, try to go get Tom Brady, all that kind of stuff. I would tell you that I'd be shocked, and this is just me. I don't have any insight to this, but as an NFL GM operates, I would be floored if the Jets did not call the Browns and go, is Dorian Thompson-Robinson available? The answer from Andrew Berry needs to be yes. Not for just a 5th-round pick when you drafted him, but for a 2nd-round pick. If that was truly the option, I think the Browns would make that move. I don't think that this is all pie in the sky. And a cloudy, hazy sky today, by the way, in Cleveland. Pie in the sky. It's not happening. I don't think the Jets are giving up a 2 for DTR. They'd run it back for Zach Wilson. But that's where, folks, you got to take out the name. You got to take out what you saw in preseason. If you had an option as a GM to flip a 5th-round pick that you made in April into a 2nd-round pick in September, and knowing that you have your guy. This isn't 2017 where you're hoping Deshaun Kaiser's the future. This isn't something where you don't have a quarterback. You have a quarterback. Deshaun Watson's going to be playing better than he did on Sunday. A lot better. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is going to, I don't want to say become a mythological creature here or anything like that, but he is the backup quarterback, and I like him, and I like a lot of the things that he showed, and I loved the draft pick when they made it. All of those things. But in a real world, he never plays for the Browns, ever. That's the best case scenario. And there's also something to be said about maybe letting DTR go somewhere where he can play. If you really like him that much, then I'm sure even he would, it's future and re-sign and get past his rookie deal and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think the Jets are going to call. Like, of a list, I think the Jets need probably a little bit more, guy with a little more experience. Like Colt McCoy came up, Carson Wentz, Joe Flacco. Please don't call Phillip Rivers. I'm done. I really don't want to watch Phillip Rivers play anymore. Like, that's it. All in all, they're going to probably just ride it out with Zach Wilson. And by the way, we've not seen it this morning. It's not yet official, but it's all but official that it was a torn Achilles there for Aaron Rodgers, which sucks. Big news for the Browns as far as torn things. Jack Conklin, ACL, MCL, out for the rest of the year. You turn over to Dwan Jones. I said this on yesterday's show. If you missed it, go back YouTube and on social media for all the replays. By the way, we had a lot of people that replay our show, Ryan. I really appreciate that. Like, I have a lot of people ask. We're on iTunes. We're on Spotify. I just started. I think those are all true. We're on podcasting platforms. We'll get those out to everybody. We have a lot of people that just go back and listen to or rewatch us on YouTube or on the social media. So I very much appreciate that. But I said it yesterday. I questioned the Jack Conklin deal when they made it because of injury. Well, lo and behold, that's unfortunately what happened. And there's a chance the Browns could get out of it. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be back next year because even if they put him on the PUP list, that's $15 million. I don't know many people that are walking away from $15 million, especially when he's probably he might be able to play. Like Sonny Taki tore his ACL way late in the season, and he was back for week 1. There's a world that Jack Conklin is your starting right tackle next year. The balance of wow, Dwan Jones looks really good. We don't need Conklin anymore. That's not Conklin's problem, right? You want to get, they could flip him over to left and get rid of Jed Wills. The point is that there's a lot of money tied up in that offensive line. And a bailout might be Dwan Jones, who's going to be on a rookie deal. There's a world that Wyatt Teller gets moved on from after this season when it comes to money. There's a world that Joe Bitonio retired. Like, all these things. The point is the shakeup on the offensive line is around the corner for the Cleveland Browns. And it's something as this team continues to progress and get better, you can't pay everybody. Guys come up for deals. And Andrew Berry does the best job that he can of finagling with the money and pushing the money here and all that kind of stuff. But the fact remains that the Jack Conklin deal seems like a bad one at this point. But I'm not ruling out the fact that he won't ever play for the Browns again. In fact, if I was betting today, I would say yes, he will start games for the Browns again. The grand scheme would be DeJuan Jones looks amazing this year. And Monday night will be a big test. It's TJ Watt. And TJ Watt against Jack Conklin, you would still be chipping with a running back, putting a tight end over there. It's TJ freaking Watt. But what a chance for DeJuan Jones to be able to step in and show what he's got. And some of the things, frankly, the evolution that we've seen with DeJuan Jones. I know Brian Baldinger does a lot of breakdowns with DeJuan Jones, and he likes him. But some of the things that I'm hearing about DeJuan Jones is that the issues that he had in April in the draft seem to be remedied. Bill Callahan's a wizard. Like, I'm not into Harry Potter. Harry Potter level. What's the best Harry? Are you into Harry Potter, Ryan?
I know a little bit about it.
We're out of our own element here. I don't know. What's like the best wizard in Harry Potter?
It's got to be Harry.
Okay, fine. Harry Potter. Like, that's the level Bill Callahan seems to be on right now, that he was able to fix some problems in a guy in months and turn him, at this point, it's been one game, basically, that he's played. But, damn. That's awesome. So I'm excited to see what DeJuan Jones has moved forward for the Browns. 2 for Tuesdays are up. 2 questions, 2 answers. You know, we lied and we did end up doing 3 on the one. But our first question is up. How do you feel about the Aaron Rodgers injury as a Browns fan? And I said, I'm coming from a stone cold, just, I have cynic, I guess, but I'm looking at it straight as a Browns fan. There's one less team contending for an AFC playoff spot. So that's my reaction. 75-25. People say the same exact way. There's one less juggernaut in the AFC as opposed to you feel bad for New York. Both Ryan and I feel the same way. Sorry, we're Browns fans. That's what we really care about, and that's one less team that's competing right now in the AFC. Second question up, best high school sports movie. Varsity Blues, Remember the Titans, or Friday Night Lights? I'm going Friday Night Lights. Remember the Titans is leading right now, 55% of the vote, 27% for Varsity Blues. Friday Night Lights in last with 18%. Ryan, cast your vote on that.
Yeah, I'm with the majority here. I'm going with Remember the Titans. Big fan of Denzel Washington. It's an all-time classic. It tears at the heartstrings. A great movie.
I agree. All right, when we come back, we will do Time Hop. I have something, we have 4 TV shows for Ryan to guess on, and that got a little bit of basketball, got a little bit of football. We'll get to all that. Time Hop comes your way next. Fontana, Big Play, iHeart app, streaming on YouTube, and of course, social media. We'll tell you what happened in history this day next. All right, here we go. A little bit of time hop, as we always do every single day. We'll go back in history and tell you what happened on this day. It is the 12th of September, 10:33 in the morning. Happy to have you here on the Fontana Show. Big Play, iHeart, YouTube, and of course, streaming on social media. We start 2 years ago today. Browns season opener, and they fall to the Chiefs in this one. Of course, that one was a big game because we were coming off the playoff appearance. We were coming off, we're going to go run it against the Chiefs again, and unfortunately would not be able to recapture the magic there. We fall 33-20 on, but it was funny, Ryan, going back to that game because we came out of that one saying we kind of stuck with the Chiefs, like we were there with it. Mahomes threw for 337 and 3 touchdowns. Nick Chubb had 2 touchdowns on the ground. Jarvis Landry had a touchdown as well, and then Kareem Hunt. And it really, the Chiefs, we had the lead, right? We were up, what was it, 22-10, I think, at half. And then, of course, Mahomes comes back and scores 23 in the second half. So we fought to the Chiefs this day, 2021. This day, 2014. Many of times, Josh Gordon suspended 10 games by the NFL. That was one where, like, it's crazy to me, Ryan, to look at Josh Gordon and say, what was that? That was the 2013 season that he went nuts? What year was that? 2012 or 2013?
I want to say it was
2013.
2013.
1,600 yards, 9 touchdowns. That 3-game stretch where you just was like decimating everybody.
2013. That was quite the interesting year. That draft.
Yeah.
That was Johnny, right?
2013 was no, Johnny was 2012.
He was 2012.
I think so.
Okay.
Right, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Because the Browns had to use a supplemental pick. I think 2013 was Barkevius.
You're absolutely right. It was. Now that I think about
that
it.
2013
You're
draft will
right.
go down. And 2013
that is the worst draft, I think, in the history
Eric
of the
Fisher
modern
went
era.
1, Luke Jokel, Deion Jordan. I think Kelsey was in that later. I think DeAndre Hopkins was in it
Matt,
later.
I'm gonna spin this on you. I'm gonna give you a trivia question.
Okay, I'm all for it.
So DeAndre Hopkins he was that year. I think he was drafted like 26. Can you tell me the first receiver off the board that year? I believe he went 8. He went to Los Angeles, the Rams. At the time, they were St. Louis.
St. Louis. That wasn't the year of like Laquan Treadwell. That was Corey Coleman. That was 2 years later. Oh man, the first receiver.
Tough one. He had a better career really in special teams than he did as a receiver. But his college tape was nasty.
I don't know.
Tavon Austin.
Oh yeah. Good call on that. So Gordon was in the supplemental draft because of everything that went on. So obviously he had that career year. After that season, he played in. Okay, so again, this day 2014, he was suspended 10 games by the NFL. He only played 5 games in 2014. He did not play at all in 15 or 16. He played in 5 games in 17, 12 games in 18, 11 games in 19, 12, and then 2 games for Tennessee in 2022, excuse me. In his career that spanned 10 seasons, really 11, 10 years, but 11 seasons. Pull my calculator out right now. 11 years times 16 games, a chance to play 176 games. Ryan, he played 77. So he missed about 100 games of his career, let alone all the money that he could have made. And the crazy thing on that was he was still here for Hugh Jackson years. Like, was here in 2017. Like, I remember when Hugh got the job, he missed all of 16, came back in 17. And the reason that, and as we know, 2013, and I always say this about Josh Gordon, he could have been the best receiver to ever play the game of football. Like, he had every single tool that you would ever look at. And had substance abuse problems. Granted, people always want to go to the weed card and, if you'd just given up weed and given that. Well, addiction is a little more powerful than just give it up. And now in the NFL, they don't test for weed anymore. Maybe they should never. I don't know. But sorry, man, those are the rules. Like something with these gambling things. Sorry, man, those are the rules. Whether you actually agree with it or not, those are the rules. You got to follow them. It sucks for Josh Gordon. I think about, what could have been for the Browns. I think about what could have been for him. Like just strictly on the fact of like the money and the career that he could have had. It's insane. This day, 1995. Ryan, have you ever gone to see the Harlem Globetrotters?
When I was very, very little, I
Same thing.
got
I
the
went as a kid,
opportunity
too.
one time.
Well, this day, 1995, their 8,829 game win streak came to an end because they played a team of retired NBA players led by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And unlike prior games, this was an unscripted game, and the Harlem Globetrotters lost this day, 1995. Poor Washington Generals, man, because they just get beat up. And the Globetrotters, I saw the ads. Like, they came to Rock Mortgage Fieldhouse, I think, this past summer. Like, that's something. I have 2 kids now. My wife and I talk about things that, we'll do with our kids one day. Like, we were lucky enough to take our son to his first baseball game this past summer. Like, on that list somewhere is the Harlem Globetrotters. Like, you got to go see them. Speaking of basketball, this day, 1984, the Bulls signed Michael Jordan to his rookie contract to begin his career. This day, 1954. The Indians, playing a doubleheader against the Yankees, they sweep them 4-1 and 3-2. Here's the stat of the reason I'm bringing it up, is that 84,587 people were there for a doubleheader, making it the largest crowd in Major League Baseball history. They surmised that 12,000 people at Municipal Stadium didn't even have seats. They were 10 rows deep beyond the outfield fence, just there, watching 1954. 84,000 people. I saw that Nebraska had that volleyball game, and they had 90,000 people there. Baseball will never have anything. Like, first off, because they don't make stadiums that big. Stadiums just aren't built for that in baseball. And it's not like football or basketball where you can convert some other stadium to do it. So I feel pretty confident saying that record will probably stay forever. This day, 1900, the White Sox beat the Indians to clinch the first ever AL pennant. Very happy birthday goes out to one of the greatest athletes to ever walk this earth, Jesse Owens, celebrating a birthday today. Yao Ming, Freddie Freeman, Andrew Luck. Speaking about what could have been. Barry White, the singer, Jennifer Hudson, R.I.P. Paul Walker, Neil Peart, drummer for Rush, and 2 Chainz. Quite the opposite ends of the spectrum there on the musical side of things for our birthdays today. All right, 4 television shows for Ryan today in Time Hop to Guess. If you're new to Time Hop, we tell you things that happen in sports, non-sports throughout history, and then we always have movies or TV shows that debuted in history. Now, what I do is I describe them poorly, and Ryan has to guess to see if he can get it, okay?
Let's do it.
First up, in our era, 10 years ago today, 2013, a television show debuted. It's some brothers who have very dangerous hats. Some brothers that have some very dangerous hats.
Hats. Okay.
It's a real thinker.
Dangerous hats.
Yes. If you've seen, I guess we'll find out if you've seen the show or not.
Brothers with a very, you might have stumped me on this one.
Really? Interesting.
Very dangerous hats.
Very dangerous hats. It has to do with the name of the show, too. That's why I kind of went the way I did.
I got a feeling I'm going to be kicking myself, Matt, but you might have stumped me with this one.
Peaky Blinders, because they have the razor blades in their hats. Yes, Peaky Blinders.
Great show.
So I made it through season. I'm like a season and a half in, and then I just stopped watching. I need to get back in. It seems like a good show.
I love Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, very good. So again, 2013 Peaky Blinders debuted. All right, now we're going out of our era. The next 3 will all be out of our era. This day, 1978. I want to say the actor's name because I think it's going to be. I think it'd give it away. So I'll just say Latka Graves. Latka Graves.
Lock of Graves?
Latka Graves is his name.
Oh, is the actor.
He's the character.
Oh, okay.
What I was going to say is Tony Danza drives people around. I don't know if that'd be too much of a layup for you or not.
And this is a show?
It's a TV show.
Tony Danza. I don't know if I know this either, Matt.
Taxi.
Oh,
it was bad. I know it's poor description on my part. I could have said Judd Hirsch, but what a cast, right? Andy Kaufman playing his, as he calls him, the European man, Locker Grave. Judd Hirsch, Jeff Conaway, Danny DeVito, and obviously Tony Danza with Christopher Lloyd filling in and coming in on the main cast. Yes, Taxi. This Day 1978. All right, you got to get one of these.
I know. I'm going to get roasted.
I think the last one you're going to be able to get. This one, okay. I don't really know. Because this one is another one that I've never really watched, but it's a very famous show that debuted this day 1959. It is one of the longest running Western TV shows in history. In fact, it is NBC's longest running Western and the second longest running Western TV series on a U.S. network, only behind Gunsmoke. So it's not Gunsmoke, but it's the longest running Western television show in United States history that debuted this day 1959.
This is going to be a long shot for me.
That's fine. It's going to be a hard one. This one's hard.
Oh, man. Western. That's crazy. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this.
Bonanza.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I'll give you that. Bonanza debuted
not
this
a
day.
shot.
That was a tough one this day, 1959. It was ranked 43rd on TV Guide's 50 greatest television shows of all time.
Okay, I got to get this last one.
All right, this last one, it's a big one here. To not go 0 for here on the first time on this show for you to go 0 for. This day, 1954, television show. Very famous dog. A very famous dog.
What year was it?
54.
Marmaduke?
No.
Is it
I'll give you a second guess.
Clifford?
No. Live action dog. It's a real dog. Nothing?
Does it start with a B?
No, it starts with an L. Lassie.
Man,
Lassie.
Not a great Tuesday.
Well, I mean,
for
we got a little out of our range on that, but it is what it is. Yes, Lassie.
I hope the listeners did a lot better than me today.
I've gotten some tweets. People were a little upset about Peaky Blinders, but that's okay. We'll let that one go for a little bit. I don't think anybody got Lassie. I don't think anybody's going to get Lassie. That was a tough one there. So again, this day in history, Peaky Blinders, Taxi, Bonanza, and Lassie, all this day in history. All right, we'll come back. We'll update our 2 for Tuesday, wrap things up. We'll start looking ahead for the week as well for the Browns. Got a couple of big things coming up as they get ready for the Steelers. Some big Steelers news out this morning, too. And we'll do that to wrap us up right here on Big Play. Catch us on YouTube, catch us on iHeart, and, of course, streaming on our social media platforms as well. Stay with us. Wrapping things up here on the Matt Fontana Show here on Big Play, iHeart, YouTube, all over. Don't go anywhere. Coming up at noon, Chico will be live. And then Tuesdays, Reflog was last night. Great stuff on the Reflog show. I was watching a little bit last night. We got Bernie's show coming up later in the week. Josh and Marie are tonight, though, on Tuesdays, as they always are.
Tonight at 7.
There you go. So catch them out on Big Play Radio. I'm going to keep pushing the iHeart thing. If you don't know, folks, you can download the iHeart Radio app. It's free. And just search Big Play, and that's like our station where Chico and I are live, but then Josh and Maria will be live tonight. And then they replay. Like, I'm pretty sure you're gonna hear the Reflog show like right after us as we wrap up here, coming up at 11. A couple things to go for the show. Big news out of the Steelers camp: Deontay Johnson not only gonna miss Monday, he's gonna miss a couple of weeks. Ryan, there's a little element. I think I'm gonna get into this tomorrow as we start turning our attention to the Steelers. Like, they're probably good and ticked off there in Pittsburgh. I mean, I screenshotted it. One of the trending things was fire Matt Canada, who's their offensive coordinator. And the Steelers, you want to believe in Kenny Pickett and George Pickens, but now Cam Hayward's already not playing, by the way. He's got a groin injury that might need surgery. He might go on IR. Now they lose Deontay Johnson, and you had an offense that looked putrid against the 49ers. Now, I get it. It's 49ers. They're a pretty good team, but I can't find that balance of some people are like worried because the Steelers look so bad and they might be really ticked off and they're going to come out because it is in Pittsburgh. It is Monday Night Football. Or maybe they just actually do suck and we'll be able to get up one. But we'll see. Keep an eye out for things for the Browns moving forward for this week, because that's another great part about where Cleveland is at. Really came out of that game pretty healthy. Outside of Conklin, which we know, is done, but didn't sound like too many guys. Jed Wills had x-rays. Coach kind of downplayed that. The Browns are off today as a normal Tuesday. They're also going to be off tomorrow because they have an x-ray. So the next time that we'll get to hear from Coach or really anybody will be Thursday. So we'll keep our eyes out for that. But really, in a week one where you saw a lot of major injuries, and again, I know the Conklin one is a big one, but the Steelers are starting to lose some guys too, which you get something you got to keep an eye out coming up for Monday. Power rankings are out. Updated power rankings. Browns jumping 7 spots in ESPN. They're up from 18 to 11. Jake Trotter's right up. Shout out to Jake. Browns new defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz came up with a game plan that both rattled Joe Burrow and shut down Cincinnati's passing offense. In the rating conditions, that helped. Schwartz blitzed Burrow on 53% of his dropbacks in the first half, the highest rate of Joe Burrow's career, according to ESPN Stats and Info. In turn, Burrow averaged just 2.6 yards per attempt, the lowest in a half in his career, and the Browns pitched a shutout in the first half and never looked back. Under Schwartz, the new-look defense could prove to be among the most improved units in the league. That is the Browns at 11. I think that is completely fair. Let me just very quickly run ahead the teams above you. Chargers are 10, Bills are 9, Jacksonville 8, Detroit 7. Baltimore 6, Miami 5, Dallas 4, Kansas City 3, Philly is 2, and San Fran jumps up to number 1. I got to tell you, I really don't have any issues with any of those teams except the Lions, just because I'm going to crap on the Lions because I just really am not buying into them. So I think with the Browns being 10 or 11, Ryan, that's kind of where I expected them to be after a week 1 win.
We're better than the Lions, and I'm going to go as far as say we're a much more complete unit, and we're better than the Chargers.
I could listen to that. I'm a closet Justin Herbert guy, so I think the Chargers are pretty good. The Bills fall from 5 to 9, and I think there's a case that they could fall out of the top 10. I'm just gonna jump on it again because I said it last week. The Bills are like one of those implosion teams, man. Like I think they are just such on a hair trigger. Week 1 didn't go their way. You had to go fight to make overtime and then just lose on a blocked punt. Like, I think they're in a lot of trouble over there, Buffalo. But we'll see. But I think the Browns kind of hovering around 10 is where I expect them to be. And they'll be in the top 10 if they beat Pittsburgh on Monday. Like, I think there's no doubt about that. I should search to see where Pittsburgh is on this.
Fun fact about the Bills again. Josh Allen leads the league in turnovers since 2018. With 83.
Well, they did that. They had that thing about Daniel Jones on Sunday night. They had that graphic about how much he was turning the football over to, and like Brian Dable tried to stop that. Josh Allen does. By the way, just for reference, the Bengals dropped to 13, and the Steelers are down at 16. So the Steelers dropped 2 spots from 14 to 16. The Bengals took a fall from 3 to 13. 3 to 13, 10 spots. And I don't want to think that so much about like, oh my God, they lost to a bad Browns team. It's that they just looked helpless. Like they looked really bad out there. But that's 10 spots there for Cincinnati. That's a tough little fall there for them. We'll see. I'm going to be curious to see kind of the recap of where Pittsburgh is at after that week and what we're going to have to deal with come Monday night. Let's update our 2 for Tuesday. Final one on the way out here. We asked everybody, how do you take it as a Browns fan? What was your initial reaction to the Aaron Rodgers injury? Is it A, I feel bad for the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, or B, as a Browns fan, that's one less team we got to deal with. 74-26 people say it's one less AFC team that we got to deal with. That's how how Ryan and I voted on this. I completely agree. That's one less team you got to compete with, one less one you got to fight for. It is what it is. We'll wait to see, too, the official announcement, but tell me it's not like an Achilles injury for Aaron Rodgers, which, again, sucks. You got to deal with it, but we'll kind of see how that plays out. And, again, the Browns will be back in action coming up on Thursday as far as practice goes, so kind of wait to see. I would be interested to see if they make a move to bring a lineman in because they're going to put Jack Conklin on IR. I think you're all good to go with DeJuan Jones. I think you're good because also you have James Hudson, a guy that has played tackle before on both sides, so you're going to be able to kind of rotate them if DeJuan Jones goes bad, but pretty big spot for DeJuan Jones to have to step up for the Cleveland Browns. Guardians are back in action tonight. I'd probably not staying up. What time's the game tonight? Like 10 o'clock?
It's something late, obviously,
San
on the
Fran.
West Coast.
I feel bad because we're back into the just playing it out for the string. They're at 9:45 tonight. Do you want to do a little Tipico action here?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Tipico. Pull this up real quick. Sorry, I should have this ready to go earlier. It's not like ending the show with something to watch, because we don't have football tonight. I lost my Bills bet last night. We got to get it back.
Matt, do you know the last time the Browns started 2-0?
No, I don't.
1993.
That's been a long time.
And you know who was the head coach?
Bill Belichick.
Bill
Bill
Belichick.
Belichick. There it goes. Guardians tonight. They are the underdog. Over-under's 8.5. They squeaked by the over last night. I'm taking the under, -115. I'll put $10 on that with our friends at Tipico. Get on the app, download it, use the code BIGPLAY. Big play, 150 there with our friends at Tipico. Great stuff today on the show. Appreciate everybody joining. Got some nice messages from people that are still kind of finding us. And I thank everybody that is, whether you're watching on the replay, you're watching us live on YouTube, or you download on the iHeart app. Catch it there. Catch the replays and the streams. And we'll be back every day from 9 to 11. Chico's coming up at noon today. And then don't forget Josh and Maria Cribbs tonight at 7 o'clock, all across Big Play. So we appreciate everybody joining us this morning. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hazy. Dude, a little fall. We're getting closer. We're just that much closer to fall, which I just love and appreciate. Appreciate you joining us this morning right here. Fontana, Big Play, Fontana Show on YouTube, Fontana Show on Twitter. And as always, take it easy.